Sounds great. Okay, we good now? Now, what exactly do you want from this again? Like, do you want like a team replay? Like, you only want me to go over a rotation? You want me to watch an individual player and show you how I break down their mistakes? Like, what do you want from this? Just a top down? Okay. Do you want me to go over the basics again? I need Buckets Mod open. What are you asking? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's fair. Needed a Bacchus mod to work. There we go. All right. So I'll quickly go over positioning and rotation in 3v3. So defensive positioning in threes. Wherever the ball is, we need first man applying pressure and challenging the ball. Second man on defense in a static position will be front post and facing play. Third man on defense in a static position will be back post and parallel to the net. You don't want to be on the backboard. You don't want to be inside the net. You don't want to be up your teammate's ass. As a second man, you don't want to be following the ball or leaving for boost. First man, blind pressure on the ball. Now, on a defensive cycle, after first man challenges and can no longer challenge again, his priority is to look for a small boost pad and then rotate across the field. While rotating across the field, he needs to aim for this boost in rotation and then move into that back post third man. Second will move up to challenge his first, and third will move up to cover his second. Make sense? All right. Now, offense. Wherever the ball is on offense, obviously we'll have first man on the ball. Second man's positioning in an offensive threes setting would be in line with far post and parallel to the play. So either slightly behind or in line with the play horizontally. When you're in your position as a second man, you never want to be facing past front post. Okay, so it's fine if you have momentum towards net, but it's not fine if you have momentum towards the corner unless you are reading into a shot or a pass. Unless you're moving as first man, that's the only time it's fine to cross that line. But you don't want to be rotating with momentum past front post. Now, third man, positionally, you always are going to be half the field behind the ball, 40 to 50% vertically behind the ball. So 40% will put you about here. 50% will put you about here. So there to there is your vertical positioning behind the ball as third man. Now, your horizontal positioning as third man is always going to be half the distance of front post and the ball. So if the ball is in a somewhat central position, you as a second man want to be half the distance between post and ball. You don't want to be along the wall. You don't want to be behind your second man. You want to make sure you're covering this center space because this is the space the opponents want to capitalize on. This is the quickest route to your net, and this is the quickest route for any kind of counterattacks between you and the ball. So the reason you want half the distance is because if the ball ends up close to the wall, which it normally does, you don't want to be following along the wall behind your teammate. You want to limit yourself to not pass this line of boost while moving forward. So if the ball is there positionally, you don't want to pass this position as third man. This will keep you very open. Is that, any kind of 50 where it results in a loss, you're able to cut in and challenge, and you're able to capitalize on either a pass to second or a shot or a pass back to first or applying pressure to the opponents. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, with regards to cycling on offense, what's up, Wyatt?
Hello.
Wherever the ball is, we're doing a quick replay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit and watch. If that's all right.
That's fair. No, you're good. All right. So cycling on offensive threes rotation. So first man challenges the ball. He can no longer challenge the ball. Let's say he lands here and he's on his rotation. And the ball, let's say it stays on the same side of the pitch. When first man can no longer challenge the ball in threes, his positioning will be called fill. And that's only because his goal or his job is to fill in rotation, be that second or third, whatever needs filled. Third man, who was behind the play, if the ball is left on the same side, will end up creeping forward to be the new first man. And the player across the field, who was still second, is still going to be second man in this play. So now to decide whether Phil needs to rotate to second or third, first we have to recognize what our jobs are as a second and as a fill when first man is rotating into the play. Second man's only job is to look at first man and ask myself, can first man pass the ball to me, or can I be a part of the play when first man's challenging? If the answer is more than likely yes, there is an opportunity for me to be a part of this play, then hold your positioning as offensive second. If the answer is no, or you're not sure, then rotate behind and into that offensive third positioning. As a fill, your only job is to look for second man or look across the field. If you see your second man holding a position, that means there's an opportunity for a pass, and that means you need to rotate tight back to third. If you see your teammate rotating to third, or you see your teammate not holding second across here, know that second is your positioning that you need to end up filling into. So you'll just rotate across and then loop into that second position. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, another cycle on offense. If first man challenges the ball, he ends up in the same position, but he ends up winning the ball to second man across the field. So second man will be the new first man on possession. First man will still end up being Phil, because you're always Phil after you challenge the ball as first man. And then the player who was third is now going to be second. You are never going to have a Phil and a third on the same side of the field. It's always going to be a Phil and a second, just so you understand the definition of roles in your job. So as a second, again, you need to look to first. Is there an opportunity for him to pass to me? Maybe by a quick back pass because the pass was tight. Maybe he's going to get a clear or a pop over the opponents and leave myself an open net or an open double. Maybe he's just going to clear it to the corner and I need to follow up on it. Whatever that option is, if you see an opportunity for you to be a part of this play and it looks like you get a positive from asking yourself that question, move in and hold this offensive second forward. If you don't think so or you're not sure, rotate across the field and move into this offensive third that is now shifted to the opposite side of the pitch. And then as a fill, again, look for your second. Is second there? That means I need to rotate to third. Is second rotating to third, or is second empty? That means I need to cycle into second. Make sense? Okay. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Offensive first man, right? In the opposite pitch. Yeah. Okay. And then what are you telling them? You don't have to be one line boost behind. You're allowed to be like that. That would be the like upper limit of of rotation. Like if you were that far back, that is the maximum that you can be with it still being okay. But you don't want to be ahead of the play. It's better to be like half a boost length behind first man. It's not wrong, but it should be tighter than that. No. The only problem with that is if first man makes any kind of heavy win or heavy like possession touch, it you are increasing your distance between you and the ball by like a line of boost. So it's harder for you to like to get there. You want to be either in line with your teammate, like directly parallel across, or slightly behind in line. Mm-hmm. Did offensive cycling make sense? Okay. Um, yeah, I'm still gonna draw it anyway because you're recording a video. Okay. Oh, you mean the straight, like your video was enlarged. Okay. That's fine. I feel like I explained it all right. All right. Now transitions. I'll quickly go over that on the field. So when you're worrying about transitioning from offense to defense in threes, the only thing you have to remember is whatever side the ball is on, you're going to have two players, and whatever side the ball is not on, you're going to have one player. So in this, we're going to mostly keep the rotations the same if the ball doesn't switch sides of pitch and it stays very static. So what I mean by that is any second forward on offensive is going to rotate to third back on defense. And any second back on defense is rotating to third forward on offense. And the opposite is true as well. So second will move into third, or third will move into second, and second will move into third, and third will move back to second, and second will move back to third. So just remember if you're switching from offense to defense, and if you're in second, you're going to third, and if you're in third, you're going to second. And then whoever's closest to the ball will be first man applying pressure. So with that in mind, a defense to offense rotation would look something like back post third man, front post second man, ball first man. First man wins possession of ball, and second man slowly creeps up and then matches that third man forward when first man's playing forward. He matches that 40 to 50% behind. He matches that half distance from post to ball, and then he holds that third man position and keeps pace with it. And well, I mean, you have this happened before. When you're the third man, or when you're on the opposite side of the pitch as ball, you have to be more proactive with rotation. So if you see there's an opportunity for a transition to offense, you have to proactively move yourself into that offensive second, like very early. So you don't want to be moving after first man makes the win. You want to be moving before first man makes the win. Because it's not your job to cover the direct save. That's your second man's job to cover direct save. It's your first man's job to apply pressure to make that direct save easier. It's your job as third to be the wide rotator, which means you're either wide rotating to cover the net after first man is forced to challenge his third or first, or second is forced to challenge his first, or you're that wide rotator who's going to be covering that cross possession. Mhm. Okay? The problem with that is you can't transition to offense very smoothly or efficiently with regards to boosted momentum and possession. Like, describe exactly what you're saying. Like you said, second is on back pulley. So he's just is he front post or middle post or back? He's back post, but on the wall. This is where he wants second, and this is where he has third. But the problem with that is that's assuming that first man is unable to do anything, like actually unable to do anything. And what's the point of over covering the wall as second man? I'm a little curious about that because the coverage of wall, like the opponents can't beat you to the wall when you're front post or your back post. You are just flying vertically up and beating them to the ball. Like they're not beating you to the touch. That's gonna be forcing that's forcing a double commit then, which is forcing double coverage, which is making the opponent have an opportunity to get the ball past two players at the same time, which is a big no-no. That's exactly what rotating in twos does. Or rotating very tight, like players how they rotate in twos. Like they rotate in clumps of twos. Like one will move with the ball, and then one will move behind the guy with the ball. The problem with this is if you play anyone who is a good, solid challenger as first, the ball directly goes past or directly goes over or past both players at the same time because you're both covering the same angle. Mm-hmm.
Like had them face.
Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. Face the plate. Second man's job is to face the plate.
I my have it.
When rotating through back post 2 second, keep an eye on where the play is, and you always want to rotate parallel. But when you get to front post, you want to be facing play, and then you just want to hold your positioning. If first man isn't like if the play is static.
Outwards.
Mm-hmm. And that's reasonable. Yeah. Yep. If you have such good chemistry, like What's the point of being on top of each other positionally when you're covering the same thing? If your chemistry is so good, you guys should be able to separate yourselves and have different coverage and know exactly what's going to happen. Like if you take the same level of chemistry to make this work, and I say work as in like you're able to, squeeze one goal over like in overtime in your elo. Like if you turn that into a normal rotation and you guys have the same level of chemistry with that and with each other, then you can easily win by like multiple goals. Like very, very easily. Mhm. Well, if you end up like in that discussion or quote unquote argument again, you're welcome to like send like all come my way and then ask me the same questions. That doesn't really bother me. Yep. Um, we'll go back to transitions from offense to defense this time. So when the opponents regain possession, let's say they regain possession here, whoever's closest to the ball will be first man, turning, applying pressure, and challenging, because that's defensive first man's job, is to apply pressure and challenge. Whoever's farthest from play is going to be rotating wide and towards back post. Whoever is central to play is going to be rotating front post. And this is a defensive rotation where we have one player forcing ball, one player rotating front post second man, and one player rotating slow and wide to third man. And then when you see first man applying pressure and there's an opportunity to transition back to offense, this is when your third turns to cover as that offensive second. And then when you see that first turn to apply pressure as first, second needs to be the one turning into that offensive third. Comprende? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Yeah, this would fix it. You just have to recognize, obviously, whoever's closest to the ball needs to understand that they're first, and they have to apply pressure. And then whoever's, second to the ball, you can see, okay, all I can see is first man. So that means I'm rotating second. If you can see all of your teammates, that means you're probably third man, which means you need to rotate behind. The question is whether you can see your teammates, right? Because I mean, if you guys are rotating like this and if you guys aren't rotating ball side on every challenge, then you'll be able to see your teammates very clearly. The question is, do I see no teammate? Do I see one teammate? Or do I see both teammates? Right? Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. As long as you're trying to figure it out yourself and not just trying to be me, because that's not it's not a good deal to have. That's what it is. When you see, like, when you don't understand something, you should try to like figure it out in your head. Don't just say, I don't think Stubby said that, right? Like, well, good. It'll help you figure the game out quicker.
My cheat code right now. Down left.
Well, that's fine. I'll give you the basis, but when like awkward questions come about, try to figure them out yourself.
How
Well,
y'all doing?
What's up? We're just doing I'm doing a replay, but a top-down replay. So you
What
can.
does that mean?
What do you mean? It's
A top down?
yeah.
Like what is it?
Have you done like a replays or coaching before? Do you know what any of
No.
that is? Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. I don't know any of it.
Oh, well, I opened a replay that he sent of his team that he's
Mhm.
coaching, and I'm explaining to him how I coach in threes, and I'm only going over positioning and rotation, so that way he can have a better grasp of how to coach in threes for positioning and rotation.
Okay.
Hopefully. Okay. I mean, that's good. As long as you're happy, right? Um, all right. I mean, that's pretty much it for positioning and rotation. You got all that, right? Okay.
had to double
Well,
check.
okay. You said this is like a 1400 team? Okay. Okay. I was going to say, I didn't remember Mango being a GC1 in threes. Okay. Well, we'll go over a rotation, top down. First man applying pressure. We got Rev is rotating cross, which means he's going to end up being late as second, which means Jacob should be rotating across and into third while Mango applies pressure as first. So the biggest problem here is that Jacob is rotating towards the play instead of towards his rotation. One thing you have to tell people when rotating is you don't want to go directly to your positioning, or you don't want to rotate tight and then wide after recognizing you can't challenge. You always want to start wide and then rotate tight. The difference is well, you're in the same positioning as you would have been, but the difference is you have momentum towards the ball, which means you can challenge effectively and efficiently as a first man. Yeah, this goes the same with challenging as well. Like when you know you are first man and you know you need to challenge the ball, you always have two options of challenging. One is the direct route, which means you go directly towards the ball and you get the quickest touch you can. And the second option is the indirect route, where you're moving away from the play and then you're rotating back into the play at a better angle, in which you can have a better touch on the challenge. Mm-hmm. Well, challenge angles are when you have open ball, but it's not about this. This isn't directly open ball. This is challenging. Period. Like if they have possession, you either need to apply pressure early and challenge aggressively on a direct challenge, or you need to rotate wider and have a better challenge angle and challenge indirectly. It goes exactly the same whether you have an open ball or whether you well. If you have an open ball, you need to take your time to make a better challenge angle so you can hit the ball where you want to hit it. But you you have possession. You are the first player to the ball. Even if you take your time, you are the first player to the ball. If the ball is hitting the wall and bouncing out here and the opponents aren't even facing the ball, or the opponents are late to the rotation and you are rotating into the ball, your team has possession, right? This would be open ball. Yeah. Open ball means like an uncontested angle. Like there's no contest on your challenge. Yeah. So what challenge angles is what I was essentially getting at, like, or what I try to tell people with challenge angles. It's the same when challenging, but it's like for different reasons. Challenge angles is just when your team has possession to not just throw possession on your challenge, but to take your time, understand angles, and hit the ball better. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, I was playing twos with Q last night because this guy was peer pressuring him into playing with me. And Q started freaking out because there was like a 2400 on the other team. And then I just like him and the 2400 and the opponent are just like trying to gain possession from me in this corner. Q is freaking the fuck out, and I'm just sitting here just waiting for them to fuck up. And they just fuck up, and then I just hit the ball around them and then score an open net. And I'm like, what are you freaking the fuck out for, Q? This guy, like, no,
Right.
like everybody struggles the same. Like, it's because he's going to rotate ball side and then he's going to rotate away and just let me have open ball instead of just recycling and then letting his teammate have an open challenge on me, and then him having an open challenge if I get it past his teammate. Oh yeah. Well, that comes with like jump angles as well. Like that's where patience takes its biggest route. Yeah. Like I'm sure like you watch me play the game a lot. Like how patient do you see me like when I'm on the field? Hmm. Yeah. It's way too much glaze. Oh yeah, yeah. All right. Back to the replay because it's been 41 minutes and we're 4 seconds in. All right. So
Actually, it's been 33. Oh, you mean 4 minutes and 55 seconds? Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's been 4 seconds in.
I thought you were talking about 41 minutes in.
No. All right. All right. Yeah. So like I was saying about rotating and challenging. When rotating, prioritize crossing the field instead of moving directly to any kind of position. Because once you cross the field and then move into your position, you will never have the need or never hesitate on your challenge as first man. So that would be helpful. Jacob is applying pressure as first man. We are taking possession on left side of field. So that means on this left side of the pitch, we need two players, which will be Jacob as first and Rev as third, and Mango will be third or second, like across. He's rotating wide, picking pads up. That's fine. Rev is not front post, so he's very awkward, not able to challenge this open ball. Mango is cutting back post. Now he's very awkward because he cut back post, and he's giving him an opportunity to score, which if Corned Beef had momentum towards the ball instead of away from it, he would have had an open goal. Rev is throwing possession. We don't have anyone covering second. We need to make sure we're holding first with Rev not pre-jumping and applying pressure to the ball. Mango needs to be holding that third by holding behind Rev, picking pads up. and Jacob needs to be crossing the field holding possession and pressure across.
I have a quick question about because
Mhm.
I've been a little confused. For the most part, I've just been like, hey, look, once you have you're allowed to be patient, let them throw the ball, and give you the time.
Mm,
I know. No.
those are the wrong words. I know
As
what you're
first
trying to
man-
say, but those are the wrong words.
All right. As first man, do you just always challenge?
You need to apply pressure to the opponents. That is that is right. Now, are you required to throw yourself at the ball? Not in every scenario. If you are directly not confident in your ability to challenge the ball, but you still need to apply pressure, just drive challenge so that way you're applying pressure to them. If they don't hit it, you just have open ball. Or if they, concede on space, then you just have open ball. The problem is people don't apply pressure because they're hesitant or they're unconfident in their challenges. Or people will go up there and then they'll just throw themselves at the ball and then they take an hour to rotate and their team gets scored on. The problem is patience, right? You have to be able to keep yourself grounded longer. Because if you're grounded the entire time, you're able to see whether they're giving you a chance to challenge, whether they're not, like whether they just have open ball and you're just applying pressure to them, and then you're just recycling back to defense.
Can you give me an example? When first man can't really challenge, but because
Wait,
from
you're
what
saying when first man does it right?
isn't what?
When first man does it right, like when you just if first man drive challenges, like on a challenge you can't get to. Is that what you're saying? You're asking for an example of that happening?
I think I would
Or
like
are
that,
you
yeah.
okay? I don't know if you're going to
Because
see that this game.
I will say this.
From
Can I
what-
just say an example?
Okay.
All right. So say the ball kind of flies past first man. Actually, first man owned because that'd be second man. Theoretically, getting to good rotate around second man.
Did you just answer your question?
Kind of.
It's literally just apply pressure by moving towards the plate because first man needs to be applying pressure. This is a thing like in every game mode, like especially ones, like you have to be applying pressure to the opponents. And that's by keeping yourself close and tight to the plate. If by you being close, the opponents are making a mistake or giving you an opportunity to challenge, take that and challenge. If they're not giving you a chance to challenge and you're already on top of your positioning, then after you get there and after they make the touch around you, rotate. Like just recycle. And then the guy behind you is first man. The guy behind him is now third man into the play. And you're just, if first man wins, then you're just cutting into that second forward.
All right. Okay. That makes more sense. I guess you kind of answered because when you were like when they make the play around you, and they kind of like it in a way. I'm just curious, real quick. And I'm pretty sure I know the answer. I just want to verify, but it's more important for you to put pressure on instead
Way
of
more important.
for you to throw yourself at the ball. You're kind of out of the play.
That depends on the situation. That depends on the situation, but the answer is mostly yes. Mostly yes, pressure is more important than challenging, especially with regards to offensive first man in 3v3
The only acceptable time is
or
like
defensive first man.
95% of the times acceptable for yourself to let the ball is when they kind of give you a
Is when you need to apply pressure vertically. That's the only time it's acceptable. You're required to apply pressure vertically. What does that mean? That means your teammates have low boost, but they're in position as second and third. okay, and you are first man. You have boost to challenge. The opponents are taking it up into the air. You're not confident or comfortable in this challenge, but you know because your teammates don't have boost that it is not their job to cover high. Okay, that's first. Okay, they're not.
Yeah.
They won't be able to cover high because you know they're back post and front post, and they don't have boost, so they can't get up there to cover the double tap. What that means is you need to be the one forcing vertical space, not just horizontal space, or not just the flat two-dimensional space of forcing. You need to have a third-dimensional space of forcing where you're covering the backboard, right, with your challenges first and forcing the ball to go low so your team has the clear, has the repossession.
So unless it's like crazy necessary, jump for the ball. The only real time you actually do throw yourself at the ball is give your time or opportunity to essentially kind
Yeah,
of
the
cover.
biggest question is, are you confident? Well, this is the necessary, this is the necessary throwing yourself at the ball. Your question isn't just necessary, but when can you, right? Like when is it acceptable? This right here is the example of a necessity of you throwing yourself at the ball. Now, when you can throw yourself at the ball is you know your team is in a position to have a follow-up after you throw yourself at the ball, which means, you know, you aren't like last man back and the teammates aren't doing this while the opponents are double stacking you, right? Like you don't just throw yourself at the ball here if, you know, you're not guaranteed you can make the touch. But if your teammate is if you have teammates in position for the follow-up after your full commit, and if you're confident that you can make a sizable vertical pressure, like a reasonable vertical pressure, then it is acceptable for you to challenge.
So more often than not, first man is literally just, hey, I'm putting pressure on you to throw away the ball, and then I am recycling.
More often than not. But also the ball isn't like, it is good to apply pressure vertically, right? Because it's harder to have control in the vertical space than it is on the floor. Because on the floor you can dribble, you have omnidirectional movement where you can turn left and right, you can go up and down, you can go wherever you want on the floor, right? You can't do that in the air because you're required to utilize your boost to position yourself in the air, right?
Hmm.
So it is more often than not in the air, there is a great opportunity for you to challenge or quote unquote throw yourself at the ball. There are opportunities that the opponents drop possession or give you a chance to challenge in which you should take an opportunity to challenge.
All right.
Like especially on like air dribbles or flip resets or stuff like that, when people are trying to control the ball in the air, when you see a car make a touch on the ball and then the ball ends up increasing in distance away from the car. If it is increasing in distance, understand that this is a great opportunity to challenge. Why? Because that means it takes longer for the ball to catch or the car to catch up to the ball. And if they are forced to catch up to the ball quickly, they're locked in on a direct route to the ball, which means the ball only has one method of travel after that.
For the most part,
Which
I
makes it easier to
understand
read.
that. I guess what I always thought, understood as first man was kind of most of the time you just kind of throw yourself at the ball, but first you have to read what the opponent and quote unquote throw yourself at the ball or challenge.
You do need to challenge. Okay, you do need to apply pressure and you do need to challenge a sizable amount, but you shouldn't throw yourself at the ball unless it's a necessity. Okay, I'm not sure if you're confusing challenging and throwing yourself at the ball, because this right here is not throwing yourself at the ball because you're given an opportunity to challenge.
Yeah, that's in my opinion is a challenge. Throwing
Okay.
throwing yourself at the ball is kind of like a
Throwing yourself at the ball is what you're doing is you're applying pressure in a case where they have full control. like where they don't give you an opportunity to challenge.
Yeah,
Like if
I
this guy
guess.
has a perfect dribble, you have to throw yourself at the ball so that way you're able to apply pressure. Because if you're just like lollygagging your way towards him, you're giving him a perfect opportunity to ball the shit out of you.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that it's kind of like a last ditch attempt to give your teammates both time and an opportunity to recover while it forced them to
It's
it's
also
like a Hail
important to
Mary event where you kind of
it's
hope for the
also
best.
important to recognize the opponent, like how much the opponents are like putting on that play, right? Like if this guy is full in on this dribble and he has like a teammate ready for that pass forward, and then he has like a third man like right here because he knows first man's going to ball the shit out of you. What is your best option here? It's not to apply like half challenge and then rotate. You have to throw yourself at the ball. Even if he has that perfect dribble, you have to throw yourself at the ball because they are putting their everything on that play, and you have to stop it. Like you have to understand threat as well when you're trying to decide how to throw yourself at the ball. But the simplest solution when you are first man, you need to apply pressure and you need to challenge often. Okay?
Okay. I think I'm just gonna have to learn, coach.
I was
I
gonna say because
definitely
there are a lot of what ifs with challenging.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to get it good. I'm just trying to get the best grasp that I can. I feel as if First Man is, in my opinion, it's kind of the hardest for me. At
And
least,
I get that. First man is very hard for a lot of people to understand. Because a lot of people, like the only people, like, well, I say only, but like a vast majority of people that are actually good first mans are really bad at second and third. What's that mean? They are always rotating ball side, but they're always applying pressure on the ball. Right? That is a good first man. Good first mans are players that are always pressuring the ball.
when you mean pressuring the ball, you mean the front of your car is facing, you're not
The
facing
ball.
the ball essentially.
Yeah. And you're
And
close enough to the ball at which if the opponents make a mistake, you can challenge.
all right, yeah, I think like I understand First Man 90%. I would like to say.
And
Right.
that's fair.
That was a
They
retarded
just
goal.
conceded a goal. Yeah, this was Mango, hitting the ball forward, Rev throwing himself at the ball instead of just speed flipping forward, keeping an eye on Brock. Brock turns, Rev demos or hits the ball around him and then doubles into the goal. But he just throws himself at the ball and misses. Mango's full committing for the boost that Rev's on. Mango should be third, Jacob should be second, Rev should still be first. Jacob is playing really tight as a third man, even though he moved or cut into third man positioning. Rev got cut and he's not rotating across. He should be rotating across and then back, not just directly back. Because this is going to make him hella awkward. You see how his rotation was very tight? And when you rotate very tight, you don't have any boost pads. Like you're not rotating boost.
It's
If you
kind of like
prioritize crossing the field, there's almost always boost across the field. Like when you cross.
I want to say I've had that kind of aha moment. I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. Mango as first man, fair. Split the field in half. We need to have Jacob as third, but Jacob full left play. Rev should not be in their corner on the wall. He should just be second, in line with post. Because then he can apply pressure on this challenge as a first man. Because Brock has thrown possession with this flick afterwards. All it takes is a good speed aerial up, and then you take the 50, and then it goes back towards their net. Jacob is fully committing. Mango is rotating big boost pads that are gone instead of crossing the field or looking for his rotation. Here as first man, you don't rotate the closest big boost, you rotate to fill. What's that mean? You have first man applying pressure. You have a person who looks like he's rotating to third, not to second. which means you as a fill need to cross the field to rotate to second. On your rotation cross, you recognize that there's lots of boost pads that are untaken on that rotation. Then on this rotation back, not only are you tight to the ball, in which if possession goes across the field, you can apply pressure and challenge, but you can also rotate very quickly to that back post. You can also cut in to challenge whenever need be, or cut in to rotate into, either that offensive second if possession is regained on left, or that offensive third if your teammate or possession is regained on right. Which right now he would be turning to be offensive third. The problem is, even though Rev can challenge this ball, because he is here early, even unless he scores this ball, it's not going to be a win. Because there's no one to pass to. Jacob is on the wall, and even if your other teammate was semi in position, like he's not going to be able to hold any possession. Because you're not going to be able to make a touch that's good enough to get around two defenders, a rotating defender, towards your teammate with an open goal. Like, the likelihood that all of these happen in a rank that is your own is low. Okay, again with Rev rotating hella tight. Jacob's rotating ball side instead of second. Mango's not applying pressure to the ball because he's late. See how Rev's really awkward and he ends up cutting wide instead of just being that third man on back, and then turning towards the ball, and then just speed aerialing after Jacob's touch, because he'd have momentum into this ball, and then he'd just have a follow downfield. But when he has to wait for the ball because he's overextending, then he has to wait for the ball to get to him, and then he just has no momentum on his challenge. He's giving the opponents time to challenge him, and he's making it hella awkward, and he can't make a good touch, nor is he able to have a follow-up after that touch. Mango's throwing possession here. Rev is rotating ball. Jacob rotated to corner. There's no one back. Mango is last man right now, and he's also first man.
There's a whole line with everyone.
Yep. Okay. Rev and Jacob on top of each other with this positioning here. Ideally, Rev, if you're, across the field, you want to cut in to hold that second. Jacob, ideally, if you're already rotating to that third, rotate to the third and fill. Don't just slow down and move towards position, right? Because now both of you are in the same position. You're both hella awkward. Jacob, you need to make sure you're rotating tight, like wide and then tight. Don't rotate tight and then wide, because you don't have momentum towards the play. So that means if Corned Beef made a good challenge, you can't challenge the ball until back here, which gives the opponent an open time to challenge and beat you to the ball. Rev is not being a second across the field makes him not only late to the pass, but early to the loss. And early to the loss means he's not going to have a good challenge, which is another possession throw. Again, with Jacob being late or not facing the play means when he gets to the ball, he's late, which means when he makes the touch on the ball, he's giving the opponents opportune time, like lots of time, to rotate, to reposition themselves for a save and counterattack, which is exactly what happens. Well, even if he didn't throw possession, he does not have momentum, nor the boost, nor the angle to control. He can't control this himself. He can't pass it because there's no open second man. That's uncovered. Like, the only option here is to throw it like a contested touch.
Parties.
Oh yeah, I agree. It was just a pretty heavy loss. We got Mango rotating ball side, not challenging as first. We got Rev rotating as first man. This rotation as first man by Rev is fine. I would have recommended him rotating slightly wider. That way, when he made the touch, he would have made it after Corn Beef's touch, which would have made this 50 instead of go directly vertical, would have made him go left, which, that third man who's rotating, well as a third man could just turn and have an open play. Mango ball side again. He's not facing the play. He's just chilling on the backboard. You see how hard it is to like what exactly is the coverage, like as quote unquote second man here, and with your coverage, where can you take the ball efficiently, like quickly? You can't really take it anywhere, right? Because all of your momentum is going to be strained because you have to fight gravity, because you're going to be moving downward because you're on the wall the entire time you challenge, which gives the opponent time to make a solid challenge, which makes it this right here. This is where they have an open challenge. If they didn't double commit on this force and instead just had one waiting and then one just applying pressure to the opponent, then he would have just gotten scored on him like very easily. Rev rotating front post and then turning wide again, hella awkward. Jacob rotating wall side, not applying pressure. Mango is almost rotating wide. I would recommend wider and then to back post instead of this tight, which ends up into like people tend to rotate directly to back post instead of around back post, which just makes it really hard. Like this, like it's really hard to get to the ball because you're there too early and you're there at a bad angle, right? If he was slightly later or had like a better angle instead of all this momentum into the ball, he wouldn't be awkward on this touch, and instead this would be a great pass by Rev, where Mango could just pass it back to Rev or just score an open net if he hits the ball hard enough.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
About
Like how to decide when you can turn wider?
yeah. It wasn't necessarily a question, comment, or being your skilled enough to read the play specific, able to decide, are I have enough wider or tighter.
Yeah,
I just
that
wanted to
is
make
true. That
that's
is true, but it's a little vague.
right.
Well, a better way to do that is a better way to say that is most players have a very keen understanding of threat. Right here, with Jacob rotating directly back, even though it's not a good rotation, with Tukua not being explosive towards net and Jacob rotating directly in between Tuca and the net, you wouldn't expect this to be a goal because Jacob can apply pressure, right? Even if it's late or even if it's bad, it's not a direct threat, right? And most players can understand that when they see Tuca slow down or when they see that the play hasn't exploded. You see the play explode, you're like, okay, threat. You rotate tight, everything works great. But most players only understand that. They don't understand like how to recognize not a threat, right? How to take that stimulus of threat recognition and turn that into non-threat recognition and what to do with that. If you're able to understand what not a threat is, you're able to understand that you have time to rotate wider. And on your wider rotation, you're going to end up having a better challenge angle with better momentum, better positioning, better boost management, and just better angle and coverage. That was what you were trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I 100. I definitely I can better describe. I feel like I would drastic by like with it. I feel as if I'm 10 top 20 wide.
Might be a little bloated, but as long as the confidence does help. Yes, I will agree with that. It helps you explain things better because if you're confident in what you're saying, you don't hesitate with what you're saying, which helps with people's willingness to perceive and utilize your information. Because if you talk to someone, you're like, yeah, I know what you're dealing with, and blah 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 blah. I've dealt with this so many times. This is how you do this. You listen to them, or you're like, okay, I've seen somebody fuck this up, and I think I can help you. Like, the confidence definitely helps.
Or just like again, I'm top 200, top 100 when it saying the information I and top.
I was gonna say speaking.
Yeah, no,
It
I
might
know.
be bottom 10.
I 100% agree with that. I'm getting better. I would say again though, I am getting better. I've noticed my confident. Anyways,
We're
you can
good.
continue.
Okay. I was just drawing circles around Rev because he's just got no boost and driving directly towards the ball. When Jacob is first man, Jacob's awkward as first man. It takes a really bad challenge angle. Rev now, because he didn't rotate boost nor cross to pick boost up and have a better positioning. So now he can't rotate to an easy second. Now Mango can't rotate to an easy third. Now what that means is even if Jacob made, it doesn't matter what touch Jacob made, there's no chance that we're going to have second coverage, nor we're going to have third coverage because Rev is awkward, if Bango's awkward.
Everything bad. Give you a couple.
You do whatever you want, man. As long as you ain't making money for what I'm doing, I don't give a fuck.
Technically,
If you want to do that, I don't give a fuck. That's charity work right there.
Doing God's work.
Doing God's work. Yeah, look at all this. Fucking, we don't have anybody. We don't have who's that? Jacob rotating wide, so he's awkward, and because he's rotating tight, Mango's awkward and doesn't want to apply pressure as first. Rev's just forced to follow the ball on an awkward follow up, which is just a bad 50. Mango is too early as third man, which means he is going to turn really tight and then wait on the challenge instead of being proactive because he's too tight on his rotation. Jacob's not picking boost up because he's rotating too wide and not rotating small pads. Rev is diving towards the play instead of rotating back towards a third. So that means he cannot turn to challenge this efficiently. If he was rotating tight or wide or back, then he can end up turning and applying pressure by having a better challenge angle and probably hit the ball now. Where's Jacob? He's all the way back here.
hey, where's Jacob?
Mango rotating ball side again. Jacob facing the net for some reason. You should be parallel or facing the play at second. Okay. Rev, when we're fully taking possession as first man from Jacob here, Rev should be the one cutting into this second forward to where Jacob should just be passing to him. Mango's instead forced into a second. But when you do this, recognize that if Jacob makes any heavy win, Mango can't get to it. Exactly. Like this is a heavy win, and Jacob is closer to the ball than Mango is. That's why you don't want to be like a line of boost behind your teammate as second man from first man, because you are just too far behind. If you are in line or even just slightly behind in line, then on your follow up, you just be so much faster. You'd be ahead of Jacob right now, and you'd be applying pressure and 50ing this ball with Brock right now. And Jacobs ends up double committing because his teammate wasn't in position, which is causing more awkwardness. This is another ball side rotation. We don't have a fill for second. Rev is throwing himself at the ball by jumping hella early with a bad momentum and challenge angle, which ends up being a possession throw. Mango is full sending a big boost when he should be prioritizing rotating a little bit tighter on his wide rotation to back, because now we don't have anyone covering net. This guy just misses this open net. Rev's rotating ball side, not applying pressure as first. He's just sending it on an open challenge. I don't know why. There's no pressure on this ball. Just let Mango hit the ball forward, and you guys have possession downfield. Jacob's rotating center instead of wide, so we don't have a offensive second man on the breakthrough, or we don't have a defensive third man on the rotation back. We just have a center net Jacob facing the ball, who's awkward as hell. Rev's applying pressure, not making good challenge because he's jumping early. Mango's cutting Rev by being too tight as second. Now again with Mango following Rev. If we have a good first man challenge from the opposition, recognize that the ball is going to go past both defenders at the exact same time, forcing Jacob into a possibly 1v3. Okay, Jacob rotating big boost instead of holding the center third. If he was on that center third, then Mango on this touch can just make a very easy drop, and then Jacob has an open goal. But now he's forced to take the shot because Jacob's not close enough to the ball, which gives them another open save. Rev applying pressure and not getting a demo. He should either be rotating. Well, he should just be rotating. Mango, I mean, he just missed this open boost. Jacob, too tight on the rotation. He needs to prioritize wide and then tight rotation, which would make you later this challenge. But with you being later to the challenge, you're giving your teammates more time to rotate thick pads up and reposition. Rev's not rotating boosts. He's just flipping past all of them. We don't have Mango. Mango is rotating third man, but he's not really picking boost up. Jacob's rotating hella tight, but he's still also not picking as much boost up as his teammates is. He's rotating big boost when he should be cutting to second on Rev's challenge. Mango's positioning's fine here, but he should have momentum forward instead of momentum towards the corner.
I have a quick question. Any question?
That's fine. I just went and fucking in like supersonic mode. I just spitting words out.
No. I'm that. So the main worry I have, I don't really. Well, I do understand.
Third man's role is
More like
recovery of a loss.
So the way you describe it as.
Are you talking about a rotation to third man?
No, I'm
a transition to third man, or just third man static positioning?
Third man static. First man.
Well, wherever the ball is, third man static positioning should be 40 to 50% behind the field, and then in between ball and center net. That would be his static positioning. The problem is for most of these players, they're either too tight on that rotation, which is causing them to get to the ball too early, which means there's no follow-up because he's not giving his team that extra time to reposition and reallocate or collect resources. Or they're just too far from the play because they're rotating awkward. And then when they get to the ball, it's just already a loss.
Questions.
Okay.
One of them, as a third man, my main concern is it gets past both.
How is it going to get past both first man and second man when second man should be across the field? Are you saying on an improper rotation where they're both on top of each other? And you as third man are holding your positioning as third and it gets past both defenders?
No, how I'm looking at can you put first man in proper position? Say that. Is it possible? There's. Because that's my.
The only time the ball can get past both defenders is when both defenders are committed. And the only time both defenders are committed is when first man is on not a clearing pass, but on a controlled pass, and second man is doing a direct follow-up on that controlled pass, which causes both of them to be committed into the same, space. And that can be a loss by someone cutting the pass off. That would be the only time that it's a loss on both first and third. It's a dual commit because it's not a clearing or one-touch pass. It's a controlled pass. And second is fully committing to that pass. And the opponents are challenging and taking advantage of that. If third man is in position, even if it's a hard touch, he's still able to recover that, especially in 1900 like threes. Like You are all it takes is one speed aerial, and you've retaken possession. Just hit the ball into the corner, so you're giving your teammates time to reposition. If that's too awkward, just half flip, rotate back, and then when the ball's flying in for the shot, you just rotate around and have an open save.
Okay, so again, kind of brings it. Anyways, it's better to always just kind of like one done a passes.
Yes, passes. Well, I mean, think about it. Would you rather someone clear the ball to you or dribble the ball to you? Okay, why? Why though? Why? What is the reason? Like,
More
what are the
obvious.
pros and what are the pros of a dribbling pass and what are the pros of a clearing pass? What are the cons of a dribbling pass and what are the cons of a clearing pass?
Pros of a.
That's I would like that answer from you. I'm not just going to give you that answer.
No,
I want to
I
hear
know.
it.
Cutting me up.
You're welcome. You just take too long to answer, and I don't.
Understandable. Pros of pass. Get it really.
Speed. Okay.
Another one is it's very obvious pass. Off the top of my head, cons is if it's not so good pass, or if it fails, or anything really fails about it, their team monopolize off of that and roll. But if you
So
recycle properly,
all of you said so. All of you, the only thing you've said so far is it's a pro because it's fast. It's a pro because it's choreographed, which means it's easy to read for my team. It's a con because it's choreographed because it's easy to read by the opponent. Those are the three things you've said so far. Go on.
have. I don't want to embarrass myself any further. I really don't.
No, no, go on, man. You got it.
Screw
Come
it.
on,
Why
use
not?
that brain, man. Keep going.
What's it called?
I'm just gonna keep challenging you. So
I really do like you challenging me. I think.
I'll give you another pro for a clearing pass. Time. It takes less time to do a clearing pass than it does to do a dribbling pass.
That's what I meant. At least that's how I kind of categorized it.
Mm.
It's good to know though that because better, I guess it might get more.
Mm-hmm.
Need to break it down more. Another pro would be again draft cycle quicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that goes with choreographed. It's just readable. Yeah. Okay. What are the cons for clearing passes, other than that it's easy to read because there's build-up?
Want to say lose control the moment you leave that away, but that's again choreographed.
No, you'd be correct. There's a brief moment in which you drop possession. Yes, you are essentially throwing possession. Even if your teammate can be the first one to the ball, you're giving the opponents a chance to stop that. So you're throwing possession. That would be a con, yes.
Would have in a way pre-jump the ball or jump as early. Slightest mistake.
Okay, so another con is it's a large commitment Yes. By the shooter. Yes, not the passer. It's a large commitment by the shooter. That is another con, yes. With that in mind, what does that mean? If it's a large commitment for the shooter,
Large
that
commitment.
means, is it a good idea to do a clearing pass when the shooter is contested? I slightly disagree.
I'm on the fence about that.
Instead of passing in a manner for your teammate to shoot, you should pass in a manner for your teammate to pass back. I don't know if you've heard me say it, but I have said it a lot. If you give a shitty pass, you should expect a shitty pass back. Right?
I actually do it all the time whenever we're playing together. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, here you go. I don't want it anymore.
Okay. What about dribble passes? There's pros and cons for dribble passing
Passing,
or controlled passing.
pass, yeah. Also something that your graph.
I disagree. If you're controlling the ball, it's less choreographed because you have possession the entire time. And that's a pro. The pro is it's harder for the opponents to read. So you can flip it for dribble or for controlled passing versus clearing passing. Where clearing passing is it's a pro because it's choreographed for your team to be able to read it easier. And it's a con because it's choreographed for the opponents to be able to read it easier. While dribble passing or controlled passing, it's a con because it's harder for your teammate to read it because it's not choreographed. And it's a pro because it's harder for the opponents to read it because it's not choreographed.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I kind of only thought of half of the right there. I thought of a choreographed of just the idea top of your head.
No.
Guess that kind of yeah, I know.
I didn't just mean flicking. I meant separating passing in two segments. One where you're clearing, and two where you're controlling, then passing.
I understood that. It's more just like
Okay.
I thought of
It's not just dribbling. It could be bounce dribbling, like it could just be like an air dribble, like flip reset. Like this controlled passing is just controlling the ball,
I
and
just
then
didn't think
normally
about it correct.
it's getting the ball around an opponent and then into a pass.
I swear it's probably like right there and you're just like it's right in front of you.
Come on, man. What's some more pros and cons for controlled passing? You've already went over the fact that it's choreographed, both good for the because it's hard to read for the opponents, and bad because it's hard to read for your team.
Right, when I'm passing, what am I most worried about if I time it takes
What's a
to get to him?
yep.
If my teammate
That it's a
actually hit
con
it
because it
properly.
takes more time. Yes,
I'm just trying
which
to
means you're giving the opponents time to build.
yeah, I'm just trying to list off a couple work for
Yeah, go
my
ahead.
head isn't Sonic right now. Worried about the time it'll take my teammate hit the ball even properly. Target together.
Well, why do they not hit the ball into the target? What do you think the reason? No.
Oh, because of your end.
Well, a couple reasons. One is because you're not choreographing it, so it's hard for them to read. The second reason, which is another con to controlled passing, is it's not reliable. because if you make one mistake on a controlled pass, the opponents gain possession immediately. So what does that mean? It's not reliable. And if it's not reliable, that means your teammate is more than likely going to start cycling his rotation, which means if you do end up passing, it's going to be received late. So you could box that into a large commitment required.
What's it called?
I don't know what it's called.
Yeah. If the enemy team barely really or the that it's kind of stump.
Well, that's because you ran yourself in their corner. Back up some more. Like you're just trying to expand upon something that's already been said. Like the fact that it's a risk because you're overcommitting. Or it takes more commitment.
Ball on. No, it just
I have possession. This is what you should be saying in your head.
I
My
guess my
teammate's in position.
idea of
Well, it doesn't matter because eventually it will be in an orbit of control. Doesn't matter how fast the ball is moving. Doesn't matter if it's on the car, bouncing in the air, on the ceiling. Possession means you are the first one to the ball.
too
Yep, that was you said that earlier.
comp.
It's more unreliable than time, but yeah.
Genuinely trying to
It's hard to come up with good reasons to control the ball into a pass, right?
especially
But
when
what's
the game is
the biggest reason you should? There you go. Yep, that's it. To force a challenge from the opponents. That's a pro. You're forcing the opponents.
I'm thinking really mechanical.
Don't even bother with that.
You do this to me, Stubby.
All right, I'm calling it there. It's been 90 minutes.